What's up, everybody? Welcome to the new episode of Brain Room. This episode, I'm recording it on Monday, the 23rd, and it's going to come out on Wednesday, the 25th, right before Thanksgiving. So this one's going to hit you, right at your hopefully COVID-safe family gathering. If you're having one, I'm not. I'm not going anywhere for Thanksgiving. I'm stuck here in Atlanta. And I'm making YouTube videos. And this episode is going to be called Why I'm going to put out 4 albums in the next 2 months, plus one in the spring, and why I'm not crazy for it. So, what the hell am I talking about? Is question number one. So, I've been pretty busy, as I've alluded to in previous videos, I guess. Pretty busy throughout this year, making music, doing a lot of home recording, making beats. It's really not at all what I do, but, making music, using a lot of, spending a lot of time in FL Studio and, learning a couple other DAWs like Cakewalk and shit. And, I've made so much music. I've probably made 200 songs this year, 200 little tracks of some kind or another, maybe more. I hesitate to count them because they are, first off, if I counted all the ones that are finished, it would be a lot. But if I even counted all the ones that aren't finished, it'd be even more. So I don't want to indulge in that kind of nonsense. And, some of these little music projects have turned into sort of coherent records. Shorter ones, some of them around, the 30-minute mark, 20-minute mark. They're more like EPs. But I've basically made enough stuff to where it's kind of like I should stop sitting on this stuff and I should really put it out. So last night I had one of those manic, got to get my plans together nights and didn't sleep until about 2 a.m. And I decided, you know what, right here, right now, I'm going to upload 4 records to DistroKid that are going to come out of the next couple weeks. And these have nothing to do with Ocean Skies, of course, but these are just basically the other stuff I've been doing while I've been trying to work on Ocean Skies and make an album of rock songs. So I'm going to guess, the best thing to do, the thing I would like to do is just talk about all 4 of them because they all kind of have some interesting things about them, and I'm really proud of them for one, and I guess I'm just going to try to sell them to you before they come out and try to get some hype going. So yeah, let's dive into them. Okay, so the first one I'm going to talk about is the first one that is coming out, and this one's coming out on December 4th, which is pretty close. When I uploaded it to DistroKid, they warned me that it might not come out on time, so who knows. But it'll be on this YouTube channel, and it'll be on my Bandcamp, banksdaniels.bandcamp.com. It'll be on there December 4th no matter what happens. But it should come out on Spotify, iTunes, Apple Music, Tidal. I think my music's on Tidal. I don't really know. I don't keep track of this stuff. So this first one is called, I think I mentioned the name, but it's called This One Requires Special Headgear. So I put this one out on this other page I have called JBJ, and I kind of took it off after a while because I knew I was going to put it out at some point, and it just took me some time to get over myself and do it. So what's the story with this record? Because it came together pretty quickly. It was I pretty much wrote it in a week. I like to do that with a lot of these things. I just write. I spend like 2 or 3 hours a day at the computer working on. I used to be able to make several songs. Now it takes a little longer because I do things like record guitar and sometimes vocals and saxophone. So that kind of adds to the length of time that it takes. But this one is it's basically like minimalist, like metal. It's kind of like, so one of my biggest inspirations is Steve Reich, who is this great minimalist classical composer who I've been listening to and I've been obsessed with for many years since I was in college. And his music has really inspired me throughout the years in sort of the more classical stuff that I've written whenever I've done that, which I don't do very much anymore. But it also has led to it also has played a big role in my electronic music and other things. And, ever since I started playing guitar back this summer, I decided I would try to, incorporate that to some of the heavier rock metal stuff I've been trying to work on. And this album kind of encapsulates that feeling. It's 5 tracks. It's about 22 minutes. It's not very long. I like to I like to make these little EPs, and I like to make them really compact. But I don't want them to just be like, oh yeah, here's 5 songs. Like all 5 songs tell a coherent story together. They all flow seamlessly into one another as best I can. If there's some fade out at the end of one of them, the next one kind of leans into it, and if there's some like there's like an ambient tail at the end of one of them that you can hear just a little bit of that at the beginning of the next one. It's kind of something that a lot of people I listen to do. Devin Townsend does it a lot. He's one of my heroes, and this album does sound a little bit like Devin Townsend. The music on this record is very busy, and it's got a lot of these sort of crazy sounding synth lines over these really heavy guitar riffs. The first track is just kind of a straight ahead, like kind of like barn burner, like it's like 177 BPM sort of 3/4 track, and it just doesn't really. The goal of this first track, was kind of not to let it let up, and the whole album kind of has this kind of like I broke my brain feeling to it to me, because when I wrote it, it was one of those weeks where I was trying to squeeze in all of these projects I was doing along with school, and I ended up sort of just going crazy, kind of having an episode a little bit, just trying to get it done. And basically, the whole thing to me has like an ants in my brain feeling, like it's just like this like kind of like ADHD-ish, but very repetitive sounding record. And it's very claustrophobic too, because the mastering is really hot. Everything's kind of not brick walled, but everything is really loaded. It's got a very wall of sound feel. And if you listen to it, it kind of sounds like some Ocean Skies stuff. And these things definitely came from the same headspace. I played it on my guitar, on my Jackson guitar. I think all the songs are in open B tuning, which is B, F sharp, B, F sharp, B, D sharp, which is basically you just get a big B major chord when you hit the strings. And whenever I try to write these little albums, these little micro albums as I call them, because like I said, when I think of an EP, I usually just think of like, here's like 5 songs I've been working on. But when I think about these are like the records of old, like a King Crimson record or something like that, where it's a very compact, short statement. And that's part of what this record is. And this one is it wasn't the first one of these that I made, but this record is in some way, I think I made it in September, finished it late September, maybe early September. And it has this feeling like it's a culmination of a lot of the electronic and rock things I've been doing over the last few years. Of course, people always tell me that my stuff sounds like video game music, which, it's fine. Maybe someone will put it in a video game and I'll get some money for it someday. But hey, that would be great. But that's cool. It opens with a really strong fast track, called, Wake Up, We're Going to München, 1987. München is what they say, what they call Munich in Germany. I used to be into German, not anymore. I am out of practice, so please ignore my shitty pronunciation. And that song is sort of like I said, the fast, sort of like 3/4 track, just really bombastic, kind of like almost like the beginning of like a musical. You're just kind of running down the street screaming. Is sort of what's going on in that song. The second one is a slower track, much heavier sounding, called "Carousels Don't Grow on Trees," and this one really brings in the whole synth element really to the fore, and I'm pretty fond of that one. The riff kind of reminds me of the song "Planet Rain" by Devin Townsend, so that's where that kind of comes from. The third track is called, I believe I can't remember what it's called off the top of my head, but the third track I know is this ethereal sounding one that has very kind of mysterious sound, kind of dissonant. You know, much of the album does have kind of a upbeat major sound, but this track in particular sounds really floaty and strange, and it's kind of like, ooh, what's going on here? You know, the track after that is has kind of a dancey groove to it. I actually like that one a lot. It's pretty fun. It's got kind of like I said, a dancey groove. It's got a nice melodic, almost like a pop feeling to it, but still in the minimalist vibe. And the last track is just sort of a sort of a medium mid-tempo rock chord progression, pretty simple. I think it's just like a 1-4 minor 4 back to 1 simple progression like that. I like to have these micro albums, like I said, flow, and so you start with a fast song and get a little slower in the middle, kind of bottom out, bring it back up a little bit toward the end, and kind of have it end on more of a I guess you could say kind of an upbeat, maybe if a bit melancholic note. But that one is what's the name of this one? Special Headgear. This one requires special headgear. Album art by my friend Matt, who is not necessarily, he's not an artist, but he makes great album art. So thanks to him for doing that for me, of course. And so that'll take us to the next one, which is titled Sunstar. Sunstar is a very interesting one. This one kind of goes back a few years, the idea for this one. Much like Special Headgear is sort of the culmination, as I mentioned, of like a mixture of my sort of electronic music and my rock music style. Sunstar is the culmination of another style that that kind of started as a joke between me and my friends a few years ago. So without getting too deep into the lore, because I don't want to spoil it, because there's a funny story, you know, to all of this somewhere, and there's a moral to it. But so a few years ago, friends and I, we made this fake band up that was basically kind of like a parody of this band called Swans. If you haven't heard Swans before, they're basically this really brutal kind of rock band from the early 80s that were associated with this scene called No Wave. Their music is very repetitive, very heavy, very nihilistic. Like the lyrical content is very dark. There's a lot of kind of despair in the music, but the music to me I've always associated with just guys kind of like playing the same riff over and over and kind of vibing on it. But it has a very musical quality to it. It definitely doesn't feel like, to me, it doesn't seem super pretentious, but then again, nothing really seems all that pretentious to me. I'm kind of a sued in that way. But my friends and I were like, what if we just took that Swans formula and we're like, let's just make it suck, you know? Like, let's just do a crappy version of that. So I made this little EP. I won't say the name of it because it's I hope people on the internet find it. It's on Bandcamp, though. The EP is basically 45 minutes of this one guitar and drum loop that I made in Fruity Loops. And it wasn't even real guitar. It was like FL Slayer guitars. And it's just this like triplet on one note that lasts for 45 minutes, and it's split into individual tracks. It's so stupid. But that joke kind of took on a life of its own, and it ended up becoming several other records, and it kept evolving. And it was at a time when I was really a novice when it came to the whole production thing and really the whole songwriting and music thing, because this was when I was early in my college career. So, so as it went on, it became more musical and started to develop more. And every time it evolved in some meaningful way, it was like, okay, it's like the band broke up, but they reformed under a new name. So there's the first band, which is just that first EP, and then or the first album, and then there's another band that has 3 albums or instead of the whole 45-minute record being, one loop of the same thing, it's like every song is a loop, but each song is different. And then it eventually became, maybe the songs have multiple loops, but it was never good. I'm not trying to sell that this was, it was like bad on purpose. Like it was a total shitpost. But anyway, eventually, after a few years, I started to make stuff in this style that I really liked. And that is basically what Sunstar is, which is this, what I call harsh minimalism style, where you have, very minimal material, these heavy, distorted metal, high gain guitar sounds, and it's really meant to be very, very heavy and oppressive in a way, and it's really fun to do. This album, Sunstar, has 5 tracks. It's about 30 minutes long, and the tracks do have some flow to them. I've started writing this stuff in a way that it does have a flow and an arc to it. So they are actual songs. They just use very minimal, repetitive material. Like I said, harsh minimalism. It's like metal, but just like rhythmically, you repeat a lot of this stuff over and over again. I think you at the beginning of this segment, you'll have heard some of it. I'll splice it in after the fact, but as you can tell, it's a lot more advanced than maybe I made it sound at the beginning. But I like a lot of the tracks on this album. One I'm particularly fond of is called The Ocean Over the Moon. Was kind of inspired by this band I was listening to for a little bit called ISIS, which are a sort of a post-rock, post-metal band from the 2000s. And if you've listened to them, you'll kind of recognize the sound. And that's a lot of what this record is. This record is like Swans and ISIS and this band called Hum that I really like, who put out an album called Inlet this year. And it's this kind of post-rock, post-metal thing, but it's done in a computer. With trigger drums, but I like the guitar sound I got on it with my guitar. I think this one's an open C, so it's tuned a half step up from the last one. I finally made it back to C after a few months in B, but this album actually has a reference to the very first album in this sort of harsh minimalism legend. The last track, Over and Over, is basically like a more sophisticated version of like the riff from that first album, which is pretty funny. I like to do stuff like that. I like to have references. But this one comes out on the 18th of December. So I think that's 2 weeks after the first one. Once again, it'll be here. And I really like this one. I actually have kind of listened to it in my leisure time quite a bit. It's got some really brutally heavy moments on it that I'm just super proud of. Like the song, His Excellency's Main Audience Chamber, which is a quote from Star Wars Return of the Jedi. And just a stupid reference like that, has some really just like crushingly heavy moments in it. And a lot of it is using like one sort of guitar loop to create a sense of tension and build. There's this one rhythm that occurs sort of partway through the song that is really just like, I think I played it once. It's something like something like that, something like some kind of little rhythm like that, and it happens once, and then it stops, and then there's space, and then I keep adding it on like in different combinations to really make it something kind of musical and buildy, and then it just explodes into this like fast driving riff. It's really heavy. The guitar sound has a ton of reverb and delay on it throughout the whole album. It's definitely meant to be very kind of suffocating and heavy. And the album art is this, as you can see, it's another one of my friend Matt's creations. As you can see, the album art here has like it's very cloudy, very orange, very very unsure. It's very undetermined. And this one, I'm really proud of it. Not a lot of commercial potential to any of these records, especially this one, but I think people might dig it, if you're into weird experimental music. So there you go. Okay, so the third record on the list that's coming out. This one is coming out on January 1st, so right at the beginning of the new year. I just picked a date that was 2 weeks after the last one, but not really around Christmas time. These release dates are just arbitrary. I just picked them because I just want I really just want this music to be out there. At this point, I'm not concerned with like getting hype for anything. I just want, because the whole point of this project is that you see the progress of everything. Not that it happens, at once immediately, but it's more like I want people to kind of stumble on this stuff. Right now, I'm still in school, so I don't really have a stake in the game necessarily with like, oh yeah, people need to hear it now. So it's like, that's more for Ocean Skies. But this stuff, I just make it. It's out. People can enjoy it if they want. All right. So this one is called Windsor Lake Cables. And this is actually the oldest of these 4 records because it'll actually probably be about a year old by the time it comes out. So this album is completely different than the other two. The other two are rock records, kind of they're metal, experimental. This is actually more of a electronic kind of hip hop sounding record in some ways, with some saxophone. This is this of the 4 of these, this one has the most saxophone on it. I always worry about putting my saxophone playing out there because I always think right now, as in like whatever current moment I'm in, is my best saxophone playing. But really, maybe there's some like weird solos on here that I'm not like crazy about, but I figure, I just, I'm going to put them out there and I'm just going to let it be what it is, because I think, first of all, most people will probably not be bothered by the things that I'm bothered about. And second of all, who really cares ultimately? I mean, for me, my style of playing is what it is, and it's what it was then. It's what it is now. It's different now. I play a little different now than I did then. I'm always changing everything, but, it's just a stamp of what things were then. And I like this music, and I didn't want to redo it. I didn't want to compromise on what I already did, because I think, that music represents a moment, and there it is. This is the shortest of these albums. Truly a micro album at around not even 15 minutes. It's like 14 and a half minutes. 5 tracks. All of them are basically just little loops that I made. The first one is more of an ambient thing with some organ and some kind of like guitar VST thing, and it's just a chord progression. But I play these like, big arpeggiated like sheets of sound sounding things over it on the saxophone. And then there's a track that has some like acoustic guitar sounding stuff, and so it's a kind of a mixed bag. The last track doesn't have any saxophone on it; it's just a pure electronic piece. But the song "Eyes in the Sky," which you heard at the very beginning of this video, and I'm tentatively going to use that as the Brain Room sort of theme song, or maybe some music that's associated with it, and that is a little. Basically, I took the chord progression for the song "Star Eyes," which is one of my favorite tunes. I haven't played it in a long time. I should really brush up on it. And I just put it in a beat, basically. The beat is kind of halftime, So the chord progression kind of goes along like a 1 2 3 4, a 1 2 3 4, but the beat is like 1. So like I said, the chord progression is here, but the beat is here. 2 3 4, 1 2 3 4. So it's kind of cool, the way the harmony ends up working out. And I play, all the same kind of, bebop-y stuff that I would over it anyway. And that's probably my favorite song from the record, is that Eyes in the Sky. This record, like I said, truly a micro album. Once again, album art by my friend Matt. This one is like, it's kind of weird. I forgot about it for a long time, and I realized it was definitely part of something, it's definitely part of the sort of whole arc of my trajectory in a way. Because if I think back to the last thing I put out under my own name, it was From the Stone Age to the Phone Age, which is a sort of a collage album. It's very it's got a bunch of different stuff. Like one song has more of a rock feel, one song has more of like a R&B jazz feel. I got some like hip hop sounding stuff on it. It's very it's very eclectic, and this album is more like it's kind of like a splintered version of that, where it's got some different stuff, but it's much smaller. And I like to do that. I like to have, like I said, I like the concept of the micro album. Not an EP, but 5 songs that make a whole package, but are it's short. You've got 2-minute songs, and it's like the whole thing is like 15 minutes. That really is interesting to me. And I made the playing on this album was definitely a time where I was kind of in a weird spot. I was listening to a lot of Warren Marsh, who I have got to do a video about, because he is, man, if you're a jazz musician, you're not listening to Warren Marsh, you need to go back to school, man. You really missed out. But basically, for those who don't know, Warren Marsh is he had a very weird rhythmic feel. He tended to play weird superimpositions of things over the beat, and that's something I'm always trying to figure out how to do, is just how to play these things that sound really weird and snaky rhythmically, things that kind of defy expectation. And there's a little bit of stuff on this album, like I was listening to the second song, Broken Legs, which is just a pure like it's got this A minor sort of that kind of minor harmony, pretty modal. I actually play like a synthesizer keyboard solo on it, which is pretty funny. But there's some there's a couple weird rhythms I play in my solo. Maybe I think I'll put a clip of one of them in here. So like I play this little lick right here. And that, when I listen to that, I personally can't decide if I like it or not. I mean, that's one of those things where it's like, ooh, that's a weird, that kind of doesn't make any sense at all. And that's like not what you would want. But I think, in the context of that track, it kind of works, because that beat is kind of weird and almost austere. And the ambiance of the track is kind of strange. So I think it almost kind of works. It's really weird and ethereal and kind of floaty. But this album, I'm happy with it. I'm just happy it's out there. People can taste all the different flavors of stuff that I've made, and I think there's a lot of music out there of mine now that's really kind of old and outdated, and I'm kind of tired of there being this tremendous lag between like where I am and what people can actually hear. Because Stone Age to the Phone Age, that album I put out this year, but it was done last year. It really could have come out at the end of last year, and it would have been the same. I made some changes to it. We don't have to get into that album, but this whole process is basically, I'm just trying to get all of the stuff that I made this year out the door before it's like 2022 and like the stuff's still sitting on the shelf. That really bothers me. I like to just have my music out there, and if people want to listen to it, if people can find it, that's cool. Yeah, I don't think I have much more to say about this one, but the next one is this next one's actually the longest one, so we'll get into this. Okay, so the last part, the last album on my list, the last of these four. I guess I should say now, Blue City by Ocean Skies comes out in the spring, tentatively, probably March-ish, maybe early March, maybe before it's officially spring, but it's that time of year. So that's what the deal with that is, okay? Just figured I'd get that out there. That's why it says "And One in the Spring" in the title of this video. That album, you know, I'll talk about it more as we get closer, but that's probably the most important of all of these. But anyway, this last album of these four sort of weird solo albums is Water Monuments, which is this one. I planned for it to come out on the 15th of January. Not officially. I haven't actually submitted it to DistroKid yet because it's 26 tracks and it's about an hour and 20 minutes long. It's pretty lengthy. This one is definitely a grab bag kind of album. It's very, it's really just everything else that I did. See, Windsor Lake was kind of an early attempt at making some music early in the year, and then Sunstar and Special Headgear are like sort of the side projects to me working on Ocean Skies music, rock music type stuff, you know, also while I'm in school, just kind of like whatever. But this album is basically a collection of 26 tracks of differing styles. Some of them are rock, some of them are electronic, some of them have saxophone, some of them I sing on, you know, a bunch of different crazy stuff. It's really just a collection. Really, it's more of a compilation than an album, because this album actually came from a bunch of micro albums I put out on this thing called JBJ. If you want to listen to it now, I mean, if you go and listen to a bunch of JBJ albums, which I'll put in the description, you'll hear it. Basically what JBJ is, it's like a collective. Me and my friends make whatever weird music we want, and I upload it to our Bandcamp. No one gets any particular credit for it. It's really like it's like a weird commune of like experimental electronic music and all that. And it's really the future of everything and whatnot. But I love a lot of that music, and I wanted a bunch of the stuff I made this summer because I did a whole blitz of records back in May. Once again, micro albums, 10, 15 minutes. I did a whole blitz of things back in May. Where I made 10 or 15 of these little albums. There are some full-length ones that are not included in this set, but those we'll talk about maybe on another day. But you know, basically this is a collection of all of the single songs that I really like, that I think kind of deserve to be together in one place. Excuse me. So there's not a lot to say about this one. There's some really experimental electronic stuff on it. There's some more song-based stuff. It's really just, it's kind of like if you're familiar with the record Stone Age to the Phone Age, it's very much the same idea, except a little bit less like funny. It's more like just a bunch of random tracks that I have. I'm still kind of working on it, whittling it down, making some like masters of tracks, but really I'm not going to put a lot of effort into putting it out there. This one has, I made this album art. I just got some like stock photo that was, public domain and put it through an image editor, put a filter on it, There's a lot of tracks I really like. Maybe when this one comes out, I might do a little deeper dive, talk about my favorite tracks from it. But that's really all I have to say about it. It's very long, it's very dense, and it's really just kind of me just getting it all out, just getting all this stuff out there. There's a lot of individual songs I really like. There's this one song, I believe it's called Shimmers, which has this cool little beat and little synth melody, and it's like a 2-minute little track. Most of the tracks on this album are pretty short anyway. Like most of them are short, 2.5 minute, 3-minute tracks. And there's a couple more lengthy ones. I believe it ends with about an 11-minute track that's more of a prog rock thing that I made when I was still using sort of VST guitars, which is not something I was really proud of doing at the time, but it's just all I had. So yeah, so those are the 4 albums. But why am I not crazy for it? You know, that's, I guess, maybe the question of this video is for me to justify why this is a cool idea. And if I haven't done it enough, I'm going to do it a little bit here at the end. I'm trying to wrap it up. This video is getting kind of long, but you know, I had this compulsion to just create things. I love fiddling around in the in FL Studio, in, you know, other DAWs, on the computer, making little loops, recording things in my room. And my standards for, you know, when something is finished is pretty low, maybe lower than it should be. But I like to let, you know, ideas breathe, and I like not to dwell too much on things that are ultimately very simple. You'll hear, especially on Water Monuments and Windsor Lake Cables, a lot of these things are very simple. I just made a beat. I fiddled with, you know, the mix settings enough for it to sound pretty good, you know, and maybe I threw some saxophone or a melody on it or something. And I really didn't think too much about it. I love writing songs. I love doing the composition thing. It's a lot less stressful for me than a lot of other aspects of music. You know, playing the saxophone can be very stressful, really irritating. Playing any instrument, you know, is kind of where I hit the stop gap of frustration, more so than writing. I can write, you know, all day, and I just kind of do it until I get bored, and then I do something else. And then, you know, if I hit a few weeks where, like lately, or the last few weeks has been pretty dry, I've mostly been finishing songs that are like, if I have any rock songs or Ocean Sky songs that are sort of partway complete, you know, I'll go throw some lyrics on them or finish. I'm just kind of wrapping up things right now. That's where I am right now. But a lot of times I just want to compulsively make stuff, and I really can't help it. You know, and people kind of marvel when I talk to them about it. They're like, wow, you've got such a body of work. And it's like, well, I'm just kind of obsessive compulsive about writing songs and making things. And, you know, it's a lot of fun. And at this point in my very early career stages, I just want this stuff to be out there. I don't really care about rolling things out or releasing or doing anything like that. I'm doing that for Ocean Skies, but because I think that music has the potential, and I'd like to actually do some things to promote it and make it, you know, look good and professional. But this other stuff, it's really just music to me, and it's really not that important in the grand scheme of things. So I decide, you know, other than making a 40-minute long stupid video talking about all these things in a very self-important way, I don't really think it's ultimately that interesting, but I think it deserves to be out there because maybe someone will think it's really interesting. I think that was Frank Zappa had a very similar philosophy to a lot of the stuff he did, where it's like, you know, he just, you know, made whatever he liked, and he figured there was an audience for it somewhere. And that's kind of where I am, as I figure, you know, there's probably people somewhere out there in the internet that will appreciate what I'm doing and enjoy it, and that's cool. And when they find it, they're in luck, because I make stuff pretty often. So I think that's gonna do it. So the 4 records are this one requires special headgear, which comes out December 4th. So it's a couple weeks away. Second one is Sunstar, which comes out on the 18th, a little further away. And the third one is Windsor Lake Cables, January 1st. And the fourth one is going to be Water Monuments, tentatively for the 15th. I will probably upload it in the next few days to DistroKid and start the process there. All these things are going to be on Spotify. They're going to be on Bandcamp. They're going to be on the YouTube page here. I think that's it. Thanks for checking out Brain Room, guys. Thanks for subscribing. Make sure to hit that subscribe button, because it's so easy to do it. Why wouldn't you do it? Okay, thanks for watching.